Hi guys, so Richard Tice, who's the chairman of the Brexit Party, which I thought had morphed into the Reform UK Party, was interviewed by Talk Radio by another Brexiteer, which is quite frankly a useless exercise and a waste of time. But it is interesting to look at what they have to say. Now, I want to focus here on the big Brexit lie. The big Brexit lie of sovereignty. Now, Brexiteers, and I'm not talking about the ones who comment on my on my channel or, the guy down the pub. I'm talking about the senior Brexiteers, the Richard Tices, the Nigel Farages, the Boris Johnsons of this world, who have been pushing this idea we need to protect sovereignty. And what is sovereignty in their playbook? Sovereignty, as they like to define it, is us controlling the rules of trade. Now, we need to leave the European Union. We need to have left the European Union in order to make the rules. We don't want to be under the rules of the EU, even though the EU is bigger and normally bigger entities get to set the rules. But we don't want that. We want to be able to set the rules ourselves. Now, that would be okay. Of course, we would have a lot of problems, but that would be okay if that's as far as it went. But these people want to go to the WTO next. So they want to leave one block and move to another block. Now, in the WTO, you don't set the rules. The WTO set the rules. How is it taking back your sovereignty if you're handing it over to an unelected body in the very next breath? This doesn't make any sense, but it's not meant to make sense because it's a lie. But let's hear what Richard Tice had to say.
But let's just do a bit of Brexit first, if we may.
Yeah, let's do some Brexit.
Now, it's no deal, isn't it?
Well, the Prime Minister is, I think actually he's holding firm. I've been saying for weeks, and many Brexit Party representatives have been saying that he must hold firm, he mustn't bottle it. Yes, it's right to try for a deal. And so far, so good. He's holding firm. I think he's surprised, he and Lord Frost have surprised the European Union.
Surprised the European Union? What do you mean by that? Because Boris Johnson hasn't just given in. Look, these are negotiations. The European Union has said, look, if the European Union said you're not going to negotiate, this is it, take it or leave it, Boris Johnson would be forced to either take it or leave it. But they said, no, we want to negotiate. We have our own framework and we're flexible within that framework. But there are core issues that we're not going to compromise on. That's, the basics of a negotiation. Really, I don't know if Richard Tice doesn't understand this. He claims to be a businessman. He's held up as a fantastic businessman, a successful businessman. But he doesn't seem to understand how negotiations work. And once again, I'm not an expert on negotiations, but I do understand that when you negotiate on anything, you don't even need to be an expert. If you're buying a second-hand car, if you're buying your first home, you try to negotiate. Maybe some people are good at it, other people are not, but you have your limit and you try to keep within that.
And look, it looks like we may be heading towards no deal. We're comfortable with that. It gives maximum flexibility, maximum freedom to pursue the Brexit opportunities. And, to be honest, the Liz Truss, she's just announced 2 trade deals elsewhere around the world.
These are not trade deals. These are rollover deals. Once again, and this is extremely frustrating because Richard Tice is talking absolute crap, but he's not held to account for it. He's not been challenged on it. These are not trade deals. Now, in regards to Japan, yes, this was a trade deal, but the conditions were worse than the European conditions. How is that success? And then secondly, not Japan, but the Canadian deal is not an actual trade deal. It's a rollover deal. Basically, the rollover deal is where you copy and paste the conditions that you currently have. It's temporary. It's in order to get across the problem of leaving the European Union, or like leaving the transition period at the end of this year. It's actually thanks to the EU and Canada that the UK could have this rollover deal. This is not a trade deal. The trade deal will come later. Even the Canadian government even said, okay, next year we need to start working on a trade deal. Why would they say that if they already had a trade deal?
Look, if we go no deal, yes, there might be a few potholes in the road, but compared to the disruption that businesses up and down the country have put up with this year, that all of us have put up with this year, frankly, it is, as I say, just a pothole along the road.
How dare you? How dare you, Richard Rice, say that? And there are already people who have lost their jobs. These people are on universal credit now because their businesses had to cut back, because in some cases the businesses have moved overseas. I uploaded a video recently about how a company who's run by a billionaire has decided to move production to France because he can't operate in the UK. Because there would be tariffs. It would be too expensive. They're saying, of course, we're moving the production to save jobs. Yeah, right. So people have already lost their jobs. And, hundreds of thousands of people forced onto universal credit for Richard Tice is a bump in the road, or a pothole in the road, sorry. As I've said on numerous occasions, Richard Tice, Nigel Farage, Jacob Rees-Mogg, Boris Johnson, all of these people will be perfectly fine. To them, it's a bump in the road. To people who work in a car factory, people who work in other industries, to them being told, I'm sorry, you don't have a job anymore, but don't worry, you can get universal credit. That's not a bump in the road, Richard. It's disgusting that you would call that a bump in the road. Yes, it's a bump in the road for you, but not for these people. They are going to suffer because of this. Some of them already have suffered. It's going to get worse for them. Where is this Brexit dividend that you keep talking about? How are things improving? These are the same people who told you as soon as we leave the European Union, the day after things will start to improve. How did it improve for these people? How did it improve? Charlatan.
And it would give us maximum flexibility. The tariffs that we charge on goods coming into the EU would enable us to support our farmers, our manufacturers, provide the necessary aid that we need to as we transition to operating under, the umbrella of World Trade Organization rules on the sort of.
See, how is that taking back sovereignty? Oh, we're going to hand over our sovereignty from. This is the Brexiteer mentality. We're taking sovereignty back from the European Union, these unelected bureaucrats in the European Union, and we're going to hand it over to unelected bureaucrats in the WTO. How is that taking back sovereignty?
Similar basis to which Australia works. It's interesting in the Australia model, they've got, I gather, about 80 separate agreements, individual agreements in different sectors with the European Union. So there's a different way of doing it.
And that's why, I'm trying not to swear here, that is why Australia is negotiating with the European Union at the moment. They don't like the agreements that they have. They're not sufficient. They're not happy with them. That is why they're negotiating with the European Union at the moment. This is absolutely ridiculous. Richard Tice is lying to people. He's a charlatan. He's trying to say that, Brexit will not be a problem for most people, when it already has been a problem. And now he's trying to push the idea that, we can hand over our sovereignty to unelected bureaucrats, but that's okay because they're not European ones. It's okay if they're unelected bureaucrats from other countries, but not European ones. That's what it's all about. That's the Brexit lie. And unfortunately, many people will buy it. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?